Okay, go ahead, Judy.
All right, thank you. Good morning. I'm going to talk to you today about some tips for successful engagement in the legislative process. The world is run by those who show up, and that is very true in the legislative process. When you engage, you have an impact. History, if you think about it, is the accumulation of individual actions, decisions, and engagement. So you may think that your participation has no meaning because there's so many things going on, but you actually do. So in thinking about engagement, there are really three pillars that you work with. You have your public policy goal, which is to expand broadband connections and network and funding. You have your public policy goal, which is that all Minnesotans should have high-speed internet and broadband. And then you have a communication plan. You need to figure out how all three of those pillars are aligned. And sometimes your politics and your policy are all aligned, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes people want to fund broadband at high levels, and some people don't. What you want is to get everyone to your goal. So you, as a coalition, have already identified your goals, and these are some of the strategies to bring your goals and your politics and your policy all in alignment. And communication is a key component to bringing politics and influencing public policy. So how do you do that? There are three kind of strategies that I recommend using to align your public policy goals and politics. One is a grassroots strategy, and that is the local support. That is individuals like you and I acting with our local legislators and our communities to advance a goal. A second strategy is a public relations strategy, and that's a little bit broader. That's using social media, news stories, TV stories, sort of engaging the broader public through a public relations strategy. And the third strategy is one that you're already utilizing, and that is a coalition strategy. Who else shares your goals? Who else wants to be successful in this area? Who else will benefit from it? And so utilizing all three of these pieces, which is basically a communication strategy, you influence your public strategies. So how do we do that? So I'm going to bring it down into how you can engage. There are several do's and don'ts that you should be aware of as you as a citizen engage in the legislative process. The first three on this list, know the legislative process, know the key players, and know your facts, should be provided to you by your coalition leadership. The rest of these, however, are on you. One of the really important things to keep in mind is to be honest. If you are not honest, you lose a lot of credibility, and your credibility and relationships is where it is all at. You also have to be willing to work hard. It is hard work influencing public policy and shifting the public view towards you. You also have to be patient. The legislative process is challenging, it's confusing, it's complex, and sometimes it takes a long time to get from here to there. There have been initiatives that I have worked on in the past where it has taken 8 to 10 years to shift public policy and politics on the same page so that we are successful. And broadband, it seems to me, is one of those issues that you guys have been working on a long time. You've have had lots of great goals, and you just have to keep working away and be patient and look for forward progress. When you are meeting with a legislator or you are testifying before a committee, be sure to get to the point. Be clear about why you're there, what you want, and what you need. And then as you also wrap up a meeting with a legislator or in testimony, and they have questions of you that you aren't able to answer, then follow through and be responsive. Above all, you want to be effective and have a good relationship. Then when you are doing a lobby day and coming down to the Capitol, these are three, I mean, what your mom taught you, right, is still important. To be courteous, be polite, and be thankful. Those three things will get you a long way at the legislature. And then, of course, there are some basic don'ts that I have seen people do, and it doesn't go well. Um, you are passionate about your issue, you care a lot about it, it makes a difference in your home, in your community, at your business, have high-speed internet and good broadband, but don't be overzealous. People people will run away from you, and I have seen that happen. You don't want a legislator to see you and turn their back and pretend they don't see you because they don't want to talk to you because you're overzealous. If they ask you a question, don't ramble on and on and on in response. Sometimes that will take you down a rabbit trail that you won't be able to get back from. And all of a sudden, what you wanted them to remember from your conversation is completely lost in another whole side issue. And then don't correct a legislator in front of another group of legislators or in public. Um, you know, you're smart, you know the answers, and you're in a group and you are listening to a legislator present or talk to you about your issue, and you know they're wrong. You know they're wrong, but refrain from lifting your hand and going, you know what, that's not how it works in my community. If they don't have their facts correct, then later in the day, or send them an email or take them aside quietly and just say, you know what, in my community, that is not how it works. This is how it works. And they'll appreciate being informed because they also don't want to be stupid. Um, and you will have saved face. And of course, don't threaten them. Don't go, okay, if you don't do this, I am going to vote against you and I'm going to tell all my friends and neighbors to vote against you. That won't get you to where you want to go either. So then let's talk about emailing, because that's also another way for grassroots engagement with your legislator. You can come down and do a lobby day, or you can sit down at your desk and send an email. And people ask, do emails work? Because legislators get hit with 3, 4, 5, 600 emails a day. And does it work? Well, yes, it still does, but there are some things to keep in mind. One is when you send an email, only talk about one issue per email and put that issue in the subject line. And in your opening sentence, tell that legislator that you are a constituent. Why? Because if you are a constituent, they will read your email. If it's not clear to them that you are a constituent, they might pass over. So outline your issues in your email. What are your concerns? Why do you want them to support it? Suggest an action. Vote for bill number ABC in committee, and why? Why do you want them to do what they want to do? And then also just let them know that you're there as a resource for them. And again, don't threaten them. Thank them for their time. Legislators are so busy. They are so busy. So always thank them for their time and then make sure they know how to reach you. So having gone through those really quickly, I am going to narrow down to some 12 tips for active engagement. Number one, remember that legislators are human beings. Dress respectfully, be punctual, start your meeting with a compliment, be friendly again, and be polite, no matter what their position is on your bill. And again, thank them for taking the time to meet with you. Introduce yourself. Number two, introduce yourself. Tell the legislator who you're representing. Don't assume that they know who you are or why you're there. If you live in their district, let them know. Number three, stick to your bill when you're meeting with them and stay on topic. Keep chit-chat to a minimum and focus on your issue. Believe me, legislators like to talk about what's going on back home, but chatting about that uses up valuable time, and all of a sudden, you're done with your meeting and you haven't even talked about why you were there. Number four, again, never lie or make up information. Your credibility will be lost forever. If you don't know the answer to a legislator's question, then tell them you will find out and get back to them, and then do get back to them. Number 5, and this is important, treat legislative staff with respect. They are not just the gatekeepers. Their opinions often weigh heavily with a legislator. Number 6, provide a short fact sheet on your issue, but don't weigh them down with too much paper. This is especially important when a busy legislator cuts a meeting short. Leave a handout with a note. And again, your coalition leadership should be providing this information. Number 7, know your bill and tell your story. Lawmakers want to know the details of the bill and why it matters to you. So tell your story. Number 8, don't assume support. Press for explicit commitment. They'll politely nod and thank you for being there, but when you wrap up your meeting, ask your legislator to support the bill, and that means voting for the bill. And if you need to, ask them to talk to the committee chair or legislative leaders to make your bill a priority. Number 9, never criticize another legislator, lobbyist, or the opposition. It's unprofessional, it reflects poorly, creates opposition to you, and it just doesn't, the word gets around and it's just not a good thing. Number 10, again, be understanding of the complex pressures upon legislators and allow them a chance to respond to your issues. Listen carefully to their advice and don't interrupt. Number 11, don't burn bridges unnecessarily. You never know when you may have to work with a legislator in the future. And finally, number 12, send a written follow-up note thanking the legislator again and summarize any action items for the meeting. So it all gets down to knowing your issue and being polite and creating good relationships. And that's my story, my advice for you today.
Judy, thank you so much for that presentation. Very helpful and interesting, and some great tips in there for me that I can take to heart. I'm wondering about the when you're dealing with a bill where there's people who are for it and people who are against it, and you're trying to present your case and your facts, and to be sensitive to the respect to the opposition. Do you have any more advice on how you position your information in contrast with your opponents?
Yeah, you can always identify that there is opposition. Legislators are interested to know what the opposition is. My point is, don't criticize the opposition. Identifying what the opposition is and what their points of opposition are is usually helpful to a legislator. And in the same conversation, as you are sharing the opposition's point of view, give them the information, the facts that legislator needs to support you. Debunk the opposition, explain again in your community what this means and doesn't mean. It's really helpful when you're working one-on-one with a legislator and you're coming in as a grassroots coalition to bring that to your community. So explain to them why the opposition's points don't work for your community and why your points do.
Perfect. Judy, thank you so much. Judy Erickson has been a lobbyist at the Capitol for quite a number of years and very successful, especially in the trails and tourism fields. Judy, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.